People of Eastern Region Biafra, do the right thing. This message is directed at the people of Eastern Region Biafra, Anang, Efik, Ibibi, Igbo, Ogoja, Ishekiri, Ijo, Isoko, Urobo, and everybody else who resides in and calls Eastern Region their homeland. It is more than 40 years since the Hausa Fulani Yoruba oligarchs invaded your fatherland and took it away from you. What have you done since then? Some have pretended that all is well and continue to live as if their lives have been the same ever since, though they are treated as slaves. Some have been blaming others for this terrible enslavement. The Ijo blame the Igbo, the Efik blame the Anang, who in turn blame the Ugoja, the Ishekiri blame the Ijo, who say it is the fault of the Isoko, the Urobo blame the Ishan, who turn around and blame the Igbo, the Igbo blame the Ijo, Ibibi, Ishan, and Urobo, who they accuse of having supported the Hausa Fulani Yoruba invaders that enslaved us. Some fools even see the enslavement of their brothers and sisters as an opportunity to make money and be rich, and have bowed down and accepted to be the jesters of the Hausa Fulani Yoruba oligarchs, who make them rich with our own money, which they stole from our land. Some have even gone to the ridiculous extent of denying their identity. I am not Igbo. I am not Ijo. I am not Ishekiri. I am not Efik. I am not Urobo, etc. They even went so far as to stop speaking their language and now speak Yoruba and Hausa and teach their children to speak Yoruba and Hausa, all in the false hope that the Hausa Fulani and Yoruba will like them. The rich among them have also bought and built expensive mansions and palaces in Abuja and Lagos, all in the hope of making those places their home and hoping that the Hausa Fulani Yoruba will like them and treat them like human beings. Usai. Big, big mistake. One day, you all will cry tears of blood. Nobody will pay you a penny for those expensive mansions you have built in Abuja and Lagos, and you will have no one to blame but yourself. People of Eastern Region, everything you have done since the Hausa Fulani Yoruba occupation of your land and the enslavement of your people have been wrong. Those who became jesters and called themselves politicians know that the Hausa Fulani Yoruba look at them like garbage and treat them like shit. Those who have been playing the blame game are simply wasting their time, because all of you are like crabs in a barrel. You are not going anywhere until your owner is ready to cook and eat you. And let us be honest to ourselves. Ndi Hausa Fulani and Ndi Yoruba have been cooking and eating us for 40 years. The rich businessmen and politicians among us, they treat like the foolish goat whose owner is feeding fat in readiness for the feast day when he will slaughter the goat for his feast. The beginning of wisdom is when you realize and accept that what you have been doing all along has been really foolish. That is when your redemption begins. Easterners, realize now that we have been foolish all along, all of us. Stop the blame game. Stop denying yourselves and your identity, who you are and where you come from. Stop denying, stop pointing accusing fingers at each other, and accept that you all are being led to slaughter by the Hausa Fulani Yoruba oligarchs and the Sokoto Caliphate. Then Start to save yourselves, not as individuals, but as a group, a community of people. That is your only savior. First, let us start with the facts. Before Nigeria became independent, the Hausa Fulani and their brothers in the north, the Yoruba and their brothers in the west, and the Igbo and their brothers in the east could never agree on anything. They couldn't agree on census figures, elections, form of government, whether monarchy, feudalism, or democracy, education system, judicial system, infrastructure development, etc. They could not even agree on the most fundamental thing that all people want, which is freedom and independence. While the Igbo and their brothers in the east and the Yoruba and their brothers in the west demanded independence and the end of colonialism from the British government, the Hausa Fulani and their brothers in the north stated clearly that they did not want independence and wanted to continue to be ruled by the British. When Easterners and Westerners who were fighting for independence finally got it from the British, the Hausa Fulani and their brothers insisted on being the executive leaders of the federal government. It was given to them, and they promptly messed it up. They slaughtered the TV in large numbers. While trying to rig elections in western Nigeria, they created anarchy and total chaos in Yoruba land. The Igbo and their brothers in the east, alarmed at the systematic decimation of the Yoruba, went west to help save the Yoruba from destruction by the Hausa Fulani and the Sokoto Caliphate, just as the Igbo did in helping to save the TV from the Hausa Fulani and the Sokoto Caliphate. In one of the greatest ironies in history, the Yoruba and their brothers and the TV joined the same Hausa Fulani and Sokoto Caliphate that had vowed to destroy them and declared war on the Igbo and their brothers in the east. The rest is history. Why did the Hausa Fulani Yoruba oligarchs and the Sokoto Caliphate declare war on the Igbo and their brothers in the east? The Hausa Fulani and the Yoruba declared war on the Igbo and their brothers in the eastern region for one reason and one reason alone: to steal the petroleum and natural gas and the billions of dollars of oil money that was in the east. That was, that has been, and that will continue to be the only reason they declared war on us. Never believe any fool who tells you it was for the so-called one Nigeria. As the Nigeria-Biafra war was still in progress, Yakubu Gowon, Hausa Fulani, in 1969, unilaterally and without consulting the owners of the land and petroleum resources, passed a decree called the Petroleum Resources Decree in 1969. By this decree, the Hausa Fulani Yoruba Federal Government of Nigeria seized the petroleum in Eastern region and assumed ownership and control of all the petroleum in, under, or upon the land, territorial waters, and continental shelf of Nigeria. This military decree effectively stripped the people of Eastern region of their right to private ownership of the petroleum in their own private lands and put it in the hands of the Hausa Fulani Yoruba generals and oligarchs. Then, for the first time, Yakubu Gowon pegged the derivation principle at 45%. The slide has started.